What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my upset alert games heading into week number 9 of the 2024 college football season. Going back to my upset alert games from last week, we had a couple of games that turned out to be upsets that were on the video. First off, we had Tennessee upsetting Alabama. That was on the video. Tennessee was a 2.5-point underdog, and they won 24-17. And then we had the other game was Georgia and Texas. Georgia won 30-15, but Georgia was an underdog in that game, and Texas was the favorite, so that is, of course, called an upset. So, yeah, those were the couple of games that happened to be upset alert games from last week. Going into week 9, we do have a pretty quiet weekend of college football, some big games here and there, but we could see some upsets, and usually we see 2 out of the 8 games turn out to be upsets. And this is the last weekend, of course, here in the month of October. What we do is we take 8 games total, 4 games each, 4 games that are most likely to be upsets, and then the 4 games that are least likely to be upsets. And I just use top 25 teams and also top 25 versus top 25 matchups, and then top 25 versus unranked matchups. And whoever that highest ranked team is, that team, of course, is on upset alert. So let's go ahead and get right into it here. We'll start from the least likely and work our way to the most likely upsets here for week number 9. And we'll start here with Texas and Vanderbilt, 4:15 Eastern Time on the SEC Network. Texas favored by 18.5, and the over and under is at 53.5. You got Texas coming off that loss to Georgia. How did they bounce back after that loss to the Bulldogs? You know, is their offense a little bit beat up after taking a really big blow to the Georgia defense? I mean, that's a big question mark there for Texas, but this is still a very talented team. Quinn Ewers has not really played that well in the last couple of weeks, but this is a big opportunity for him to kind of get back on track. Now, Vanderbilt, it's not going to be an easy game for them. Vanderbilt, obviously, number 25 in the AP poll, ranked for the first time in a very long time. And Vanderbilt's sitting there at 5-2. Now, watch out for this one. Vanderbilt, you know, after Texas getting a loss to Georgia this past weekend, they could be all beat up going into this game after the loss to Georgia. And Vanderbilt might have an advantage here. They played Ball State last week. Vanderbilt did not play that well, but I think it's because Vanderbilt was overlooking Ball State and they were looking ahead to this game. So, yeah, Vanderbilt, I think, has a pretty good shot here to pull off the upset. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I think Texas is going to come out really angry here after the loss to Georgia from last weekend, but I think Vanderbilt's got a pretty good shot. They've done it before. They upset the number 1 team in Alabama in week number 6, I believe. So, yeah, Vanderbilt's got a pretty good shot here to pull off the upset, and watch out for this one. And Vanderbilt's just been a really big surprise team this year, and it's just because of their quarterback in Diego. So, Vanderbilt, Texas here at 4:15 Eastern Time on the SEC Network. And, again, the Longhorns are favored by 18.5. Next up, we got another SEC matchup. It's Missouri and Alabama, 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Alabama favored by 13.5. That is a very surprising spread there, and a very, big spread there for a team that's coming off a tough loss to Tennessee this past weekend. You got Missouri that's coming off a little bit of a sluggish win against Auburn. Auburn was 2-4 going into that game. Missouri had to come back from 14 down. The question about Missouri is, Brady Cook a little bit healthy. We saw him get injured against Auburn last weekend. That'll be a big question mark here for the Tigers. They're playing on the road. Alabama, the question mark for them, can they bounce back after that loss to Tennessee? Will this be an angry Alabama team? Will they play like the Alabama teams that we've seen, of course, in the Nick Saban era? But if Alabama loses this game, the season's pretty much over for them. They'll still make it to a bowl game, but they're not going to be probably into the college football playoff because they have a tough schedule coming up the rest of the way. They got this one here, which is not going to be really easy, even though it's at home for Alabama. But they also got LSU on the schedule coming up as well. So, yeah, Alabama might be in trouble. But Alabama, they're playing at home in this one. You kind of expect them to bounce back. We were kind of expecting them to come out really angry against South Carolina a couple weeks ago, but that did not happen. So, Alabama, will they do that again, or will they kind of, be the Alabama team that we're expecting? So, yeah, watch out for this one. Keep an eye on this one. Alabama, Missouri at 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Alabama's favored by 13.5. Again, that spread does really surprise me. All right, next we got Notre Dame and Navy, noon Eastern Time on ABC. Notre Dame favored by 13, and the over and under is at 52.5. This is going to be a good one. This game, of course, will be in New Jersey. It's on a neutral site venue. You got Navy that's coming in undefeated, not even ranked in the top 25. So, yeah, that's very surprising there. They don't have a really good resume. I mean, they're in my top 25, but they're sitting there at the bottom. They're 6-0. This has been a very big surprise team. You go back to last year, this game was not even close. Notre Dame dominated Navy. Navy wasn't really that good last season. Now, this will be an even tougher test here for Notre Dame. They're ranked number 12th here in the AP poll. The Fighting Irish, though, have kind of looked better in the last few weeks ever since, that loss to Notre in Illinois. They've gotten better, and they're kind of, showing us that they're the Notre Dame team that's kind of dominated college football in the old days, but they're also kind of they're kind of like playing like a playoff contender as well. So Notre Dame, they beat Georgia Tech last week. They were on the video for me last week. They're on the video for me this week again. I would not be surprised here if Navy pulls off the upset. I mean, Navy probably not on Notre Dame's talent level, but they run the triple option. That's definitely going to, try to waste the clock down and keep that Notre Dame offense off the field and try to wear down this Notre Dame defense. But I think Notre Dame still is the very talented team, but I don't really think, I really don't really believe, or actually I should say, I would not be shocked here if an upset, happens here because Navy is undefeated and they will go up against their first real test, and this one's at noon, so maybe with the early kickoff time here for Notre Dame, it kind of does affect them just a little bit. But yeah, this one's a good one. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen, even though Notre Dame beat Navy really badly last year, but this is going to be a good one here. So Navy and Notre Dame at noon Eastern time on ABC, the Fighting Irish favored by 13. And then my last least likely upset alert game, it's in the ACC. It's SMU and Duke, two 6-1 teams. This one at 8 o'clock Eastern time on the ACC network. SMU is favored by 11.5. You got SMU that took care of business against Stanford last week. This team has been a lot better ever since that one loss coming to BYU back on September the 6th in the early part of the season. So, yeah, the Mustangs have been a lot better, and they haven't lost a conference game just yet in the ACC. You look at the other side, though, for the Blue Devils of Duke. They've been a very big surprise team. They don't seem to miss Mike Oko whatsoever. I think this game will kind of, really determine if Duke is really for real or not. I mean, SMU is ranked in the top 25. This is Duke's kind of first real test. I mean, they did lose to Georgia Tech and all, but we'll see how good they are against a ranked team and a very talented SMU team as well. This is a game to keep an eye on. This is one of those really big kind of upset alert games. These two teams are 6-1. SMU might have the talent advantage, but we'll see how good Duke is. Do they miss Mike Oko or they don't miss him? I mean, it's going to be really kind of deciding right here in this game, but it will be at 8 o'clock Eastern time here on the ACC network, and SMU's favored by 11.5. So those are my least likely upset alert games. Let's now get into the most likely upset alert games here for week number 9 this weekend, and we start here with a Thursday night game. It's Syracuse and Pittsburgh in the ACC. This one's at 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. Pittsburgh's favored by 6 in this one, and the over and under is at 61.5. Syracuse, they're a pretty solid 5-1 team. Kyle McCord's been pretty impressive, the transfer from Ohio State. He's kind of given the spark on the offensive side of the football for the Orange. Syracuse actually was ranked for me in my top 25 in the early part of the season, but I kind of haven't ranked them since. But, they're 5-1. This is a pretty solid 5-1 team. Their one loss coming to Stanford there back on September 20th. And then you got Pittsburgh here. So kind of like the same story here, with Duke and everything. We're going to find out if Pittsburgh is for real. I wouldn't really say they're, kind of for real right after this game against Syracuse. Both of these teams, I think, are pretty much on the same level. Maybe Pittsburgh's game against, Clemson will kind of, decide who kind of, probably is, or, Pittsburgh might be a little bit better than we thought. But, this game right here, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. We've seen some upset games happen, on these weeknight games. I mean, it's already happened before. Syracuse got knocked down by, Stanford in that game back on September 20th. Virginia Tech actually almost beat Miami on a weeknight game on Friday. So, yeah, this is definitely a one to keep an eye on. That's why it's in the most likely upset alert category. But Pitt is favored by 6 points. I mean, they're definitely the better team here, but they're 6-0. Pittsburgh's definitely been a surprise team, or are they just a fluke? I mean, are they not really that good? We'll find out if they're good in this game or not. But this game will be at 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. The Panthers favored by 6 points. Next up, I got a group of 5 game on here, so this is the first time that I've had a group of 5 game on here in my upset alert category. It's Boise State and UNLV at 10:30 Eastern Time on Friday. On the CBS Sports Network, Boise State favored by 2.5. This is going to be a good one as well. Just like the Navy and Notre Dame game, this is also going to be a game that really comes down to the wire. You got Boise State favored in this game by 2.5. They're ranked number 17th in the AP poll. And they're that top team in the Mountain West. They're coming off of a bye week from last weekend, but you got UNLV. Their one loss coming to a Power 4 team in Syracuse a couple weeks ago. They're coming off a really strong win this past weekend against Oregon State. Yeah, this is going to be a good one here. 2 one-loss teams that are pretty similar. They both have 1 losses to Power 4 teams. You know, for Boise State, that 1 loss coming to Oregon. They got one of the top running backs in the country. UNLV's got a pretty solid quarterback, even though UNLV had some players leave. This is still a really solid UNLV team. So, yeah, this one definitely should be a good one. We should see a lot of points in this one. I can't wait to watch this game. It actually will be like the first group of 5 game that I'll watch in a while, because this game is the only game on Friday night. So yeah, this one's definitely a keep an eye on here. Boise State versus UNLV, a game that probably decides who will be that number 1 spot in the Mountain West going forward. And these are 2 playoff teams. I mean, Boise State and UNLV have dominated the Mountain West so far this year. And again, watch out for this one. UNLV definitely could pull off the upset here as well. But even though they have like one of the top running backs in the country, that's definitely going to be a big key there. UNLV has to stop, Boise State's top running back in order to kind of, let UNLV be close in this game. But we will see what happens. This one is going to be a good one. It's at 10:30 Eastern Time on the CBS Sports Network. Next up, we got LSU and Texas A&M, another SEC conference game at 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Texas A&M's favored by 2.5. Yes, the Aggies are favored, but LSU is on upset alert because they are the the highest ranked team. LSU, you got them, at 6-1. Texas A&M also 6-1. Both of these teams at the top of the SEC. They have not lost a conference game just yet. This ought to be a good one here. This is going to be a really tough place to play here for LSU. LSU has been a lot better ever since they lost to USC, a game they probably should have won, to be honest, because USC does not really look so good now, compared to LSU. LSU is ranked in the top 10 in the AP poll. Texas A&M's been a lot better, ever since they lost to Notre Dame in week number 1. So yeah, both of these teams are pretty similar. They lost their week 1 matchups, but they've been a lot better ever since, those losses. LSU beat Arkansas, took care of business against them this past weekend. Texas A&M beat Mississippi State 34-24. Wasn't a big win for Texas A&M, but ever since Mike Elko got here, and ever since that first loss to Notre Dame, this Texas A&M team, I'm telling you, they look like a playoff team in my opinion. And this game really kind of decides who will be at the top of the SEC, and definitely has a chance to go to Atlanta at the end of the year. So yeah, watch out for this one. It's a night game. It's at College Station, Texas. This is going to be a very tough one here for LSU to win because it's on the road, but the Aggies are favored here by 2.5. I'm very surprised that College Game Day is not going to be down here for this one, but because of them going to Texas A&M in week 1, I guess that's the reason why they decided not to go to this game, but this one will be at 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC. And then my last least likely upset alert game, it goes into the Big 12. It's BYU and UCF. This one's at 3:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. BYU's favored by 0.5 point, also known as 1.5. And the over and under is at 55.5. You got BYU that's coming off a close win against Oklahoma State, so they've had some time, to prepare for this UCF team. That game against Oklahoma State was on a Friday, so that's the reason why they've had a little bit more time to prepare for this road game. UCF, though, on the other hand, they may be 3-4, but this is a very solid UCF 3-4 team. They're well coached by Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn has, pulled off some of the big upsets in the past, going back to his Auburn days. Sometimes he's been inconsistent, but he's pulled off some upsets in the past. This is definitely one of them. Watch out for this one. UCF almost came away with an upset last weekend against Iowa State on the road. Had a very good chance to win that game. And BYU almost lost last weekend. So yeah, this is definitely a game to keep an eye on. And like I said a couple days ago, my top 25, BYU and Iowa State could slip up somewhere, and I think this is a game where BYU could slip up in. Not saying they're going to lose or anything, but this is definitely a game to keep an eye on. And UCF, again, is a solid 3-4 team. So, yeah, this one's at 3:30 Eastern time. Keep an eye on this one. But, again, BYU is favored by half a point. So those are my upset alert games heading into week number 9 of the 2024 college football season. Who do you see getting upsetted this week? Who goes down this weekend here as we head into the final weekend in the month of October? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.